Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Nick, and in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to take macro photography photographs without a macro lens. All right, welcome back. You might be interested in knowing how to take macro shots without a macro lens. I just learned this. I'm super pumped. I don't even know why I even have a macro lens anymore, but let's just get into it. Let me start off by saying that the technique used here for these shots is a little bit risky and puts your camera at some sort of risk of getting dust on your image sensor. So if you're going to move forward with what I teach here, please just be aware that you are putting your camera at risk. I'm okay with it. I know how to clean my image sensor, or I can send it out to have it cleaned. But with that being said, I'll teach you this. So I have this macro lens right here. This is the 60mm f2.8 lens, and it's good. It's not great, but it is good. And last week I did a video talking about macro photography in the general sense. The card above will take you to that video if you want to see it. But after I posted the video, I had a friend message me and she said, I really want to do macro photography, but I don't have a macro lens. And so I started digging and I found out this alternative method doing macro photography, and I'm so pumped about it. So the macro 60mm lens, it gets a good close-up picture of whatever you're photographing. However, it is not ultra close. It's not like that microscopic look that a lot of people want whenever they do macro photography. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use normal prime lenses to get a macro shot. This is very interesting to me. Now, before we start sort of sampling this, it's worthy to note that the lens that you use for this needs to have a manually adjustable aperture ring. You can use a lens that is adjusted through the camera features, but you'll be limited in how much light you get to your sensor. So for me, I have this 50mm 1.8, and it actually has the adjustable aperture ring. And so I will show that on the camera here. See that it adjusts. And then I also have this 20mm that has a manually adjustable aperture ring. So what does this mean? The reason you need a manually adjustable aperture ring is because whenever you shoot your photograph, you need to be anywhere from f8 to f11. Any wider than that, so maybe like an f1.8 or f2.8, is going to be too wide open of an aperture, and your plane of focus or depth of field is your plane of focus is going to be minuscule, and it's going to be very difficult to get the shot. Secondly, after doing some experimenting, the higher your focal length number, so for 50mm, the further away the lens can be from whatever it is you're photographing. The further it will have to be, actually. And then the lower your focal length number, so 20mm, the closer and more microscopic that image will be. And so what we're doing is we're reversing the lens on the camera. And this is why there is a risk here, because if you're outdoors and it's windy and there's dust blowing through the air, there's pollen, and you're photographing like this, you can definitely get dirt on your sensor. So normally you'd have your lens like this. This is my 20mm 2.8. Normally this would be how you have your camera set up, standard mounted on. But for the macro option, you're simply gonna take this off, flip it around, and hand hold it. Now, there are options that you can purchase online. It's called a reversal ring. And basically what it does is you screw it onto the front of your lens where you would normally put a filter, and then it has an attachment piece that locks into your camera. I actually bought the reversal ring from Amazon, and I'm waiting for it to arrive any day now. It costs $5. I'll link that in the description below if you're interested in this sort of thing. So let's jump into a few shots here and see what we get. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off first with the macro 60mm 2.8 lens. Get a couple shots. Then I'm going to take the 50mm 1.8 and I'm going to reverse it and show some shots. And then I'm going to take the 20mm. I'm going to reverse that and get a few shots. I'm going to show you just how spectacular a very wide angle lens it looks when you flip it. Imagine this. You were a child at one point and you played with binoculars. When you look through the binoculars one way, the correct way, it zooms everything in. When you flipped it around, it sent everything really far out and wide, right? This lens, a wide angle lens, does the same thing. Whenever it's mounted correctly, it sends everything wide. So by theory, whenever you flip that around, it should magnify everything the same way binoculars do when you hold them the correct way. Let's jump into this. Okay guys, so I have my camera set up here. It's at 1/200th of a second, which is the fastest sync speed that my speed light will work with my shutter speed. We're at f5 and ISO 125. The flash is set to 1/32nd of a second, and we'll see what we've got. I added this piece of paper sort of in front of the flash because just to diffuse the light a tad bit more. So let's see what we get when we shoot this little spider here in the corner. All right, this looks pretty good. We are going to bump the ISO just a tad because it's a touch dark because of that piece of paper. All right, great. So here's the shot. Looks pretty good. It's it's not bad. I'm pretty happy with that. But we are going to switch out this lens for the 50mm 1.8, and we're going to have that as a reverse on the camera. So because I don't have the reversal ring in my possession just yet, I have to hand hold this, which makes it slightly difficult, but I can deal with that. And I'm going to put this on, I'm going to try f4 and see how that works for us. So the 50mm does not allow me to get closer than the 60mm. However, it does allow a macro shot. I can stand a little bit further back from the subject and photograph it and still get sort of the same plane. And then finally, the lens that I'm super pumped about showing you is the 20mm. This thing, you can get this lens for like 80 bucks on the internet. This is the film version. It has an autofocus, but it's not the greatest. I never use this lens. I will now that I am being able to use this for macro. It gets very close. So let's see what we get from this. This is just microscopic, you guys. I can't even explain it to you. Great, so here's the shot. Now this is extremely close up, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. Because this lens is so wide, it requires you to get literally right up on your subject. And that can be difficult whenever you're photographing things like spiders or dragonflies and they don't want you that close. So there is a way around this. On Amazon, there's something called an extension tube. And basically it's 2 or 3 inches long, and it actually adds more of a magnification and still allows you to not be so close, with your hand to whatever insect you may be photographing. I ordered one of these as well. They're $13. I'll link that below. So the ultimate setup, whenever these pieces arrive in the mail, is going to be the camera, then the extension tube, which will add some length and some magnification. Then we'll put the reversal ring, and then we'll add this lens to the reversal ring, which will create sort of this kind of look. There will be the extension tube in the middle, obviously. At that point, magnificent photos will incur. And I'm super pumped to show you guys those things. That should be next week when all of that stuff arrives. Like I said, if you want to check this stuff out, I'll leave direct links in the description below, as well as kind of all the gear that I use. I hope you guys found this useful. I hope this made sense. I hope that if you have some of these lenses at home, you're able to get out and start experimenting with them. If you have a lens that does not have a manually operated aperture ring, like this 50mm 1.8, you're basically going to have to shoot with it at f22, or in this case, f16. It doesn't go all the way. You can't adjust this by hand, and so that's a little bit irritating. However, all of that being said, you can do it. You'll just have to add a significant amount of light to your subject to be able to photograph. Perhaps in brilliant sunlight, this would do well. If you have a speed light and some sort of interface to remotely flash them, that would work. And then if you don't, maybe even something like an LED light that you can shine on your subject while photographing. Might get a little bit hairy, but that is doable as well. I hope you guys like this video. I bring videos like this consistently every single week. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing. And then if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Maybe drop a comment down below if you are excited about trying out this alternative method to macro photography. And then, as always, I'll see you tomorrow.